earth's grain that needs the sap of pleasure and tears, rejected and dying rapture's boon, offered the daughter of infinity, her passion flower of love and doom she gave. Savitri came with rapture's boon, but in return, what she got from the earth was a passion flower of love and doom. That is the kind of payment we make to the one who comes with gifts for us. Savitri had hastened to join the brilliant Samanas chant. The Samanas chant, the applause to the sun god, the aspiration of the beings of the universe, raising their cry to the Samanar. It is in response to that Savitri came. Savitri hastens to join the brilliant Samanas chant. But who is this brilliant Samanar? It was the hour before the gods awake. The night was thick. The night was thick and dark. Things that were to happen were not happening. The mind of night, the mind of this thick and dark night was lying across the path of the divine event, across the path of the things that should happen. This mind of night, this obstacle across the path of the divine event has to be removed. It must be removed. Then only the divine event would proceed further, would make its march on the path of progress. This is the event about the spirit's luminous possibilities entering into the present mortal world, into this world of ours, this mortal world of ours, this Mrityu Loka. The spirit's possibilities entering into Mrityu Loka, that is the divine event, and it is across the path of this divine event that the mind of night is standing as an obstacle, as a stiff obstacle. In that primordial darkness appeared a hope. Yes, the night is thick and dark, yet there is a hope also present in his bosom, and a vision on the horizon appeared. In the primordial darkness appeared a hope, a vision on the far horizon. It was the omniscient goddess who had brought the message, the divine message. She had brought from her realms of transcendence to this mortal world. In that hour, the Epiphany was almost disclosed when she appeared on the verge of this mortal world. It appeared as though that a possibility the spirit would straightway enter into this creation. The omniscient goddess saw that these spaces were almost ready for her arrival, that she could come here and stay in this mortal world and do her work, that she would be received well enough in this small world of ours, of our mortality. There was a hope, there was a possibility, there was a yearning, and there was a message that things would change. But It was not to be so. It was not yet to be so. The omniscient goddess withdraws from the horizon. The vision wanes and disappears. She came with the intention of staying here, but she went back. She went back because too little the God light can stay here in this world of suffering and pain and anguish, of death and ignorance, of time and fate governing the fate of this creation. Too little the God light can stay. The omniscient goddess went back and things remained as they were. The daily routine, common things. It was only the light of common day. The daily occurrences of fruitless routines went on and on. The hope of change had weakened. The hope of change was almost lost. Things would not happen the way they ought to have happened. The omniscient goddess would not stay because the gods were not yet awake, because it was the hour before the gods awake. The night was thick and fatal, and the gods were not yet awake, and the mind of that night was standing across the path of the divine event. The night was thick, stubborn, obstinate, and should not allow things to move forward. The mind of night was holding them back, holding them, those possibilities, the spirit trying to enter into this creation. She was holding them back from becoming dynamically active in this mortal world, in this Mrityu Loka. True, the omniscient goddess went back. She found that things would not happen. The message ceased and waned the messenger. She left behind the hope. She came, she wanted to stay here, but could not, would not, and she went back. But she left behind hope. The yearning, a yearning for change, a yearning in the soul of the earth for change, yearning for the new birth, yearning for the deathless birth. It was a yearning for more than the immortal birth. It was a yearning for the deathless birth. It is under these conditions that, because that yearning was there, under these conditions that Savitri hears the brilliant summoner's chant. The chant raised in the praise of the divine sun god. She decides to join the aspiring crowd of earth. It is rather the omniscient goddess herself who comes here as Savitri. She comes here as the daughter of sun god, Savitri. Savitri, at the command of her father, the sun god, Savitra, at his command, the command of her father, Savitra, the omniscient goddess comes here as Savitri. Savitri is always a citizen of the heavenly realms, but she has stepped into the abysm of time because she hears the summoner's chant. She steps into the abysm of time. She has accepted the narrow movements of life. She has accepted the suffering of mortality. She has accepted the evil, the pain, the anguish. That alone things might change here. Unless you would come, things would not change here. That alone the omniscient goddess would stay here forever. Savitri obliges to the concerned beings of the universe, the Siddhas, the great rishis, the great gods who have a concern for this earth. She obliges them and she comes here in response to the Samana's chant. She is ready to take the mortal birth. She is ready to suffer. She is ready to enter into the anguish and suffering, into the anguish and suffering of the anguished and suffering world. She is ready for that. She identifies herself with the mortifying, with the demeaning lot of the mortal. She identifies herself totally with the mortal creation. But even in this mortal world, in this limited world, in this world of suffering and misery and anguish, she always keeps with her the key of oneness with all, the key of oneness with all the souls, the key of oneness of identification with the creature kind. She keeps that key always with her of oneness with every soul in this mortal world. That is the key of oneness. With that key of oneness, Savitri can open the flaming doors of ecstasy. She can open the flaming doors of ecstasy for all because she has the key of oneness with all. Flaming doors of ecstasy. But there is something peculiar about this earth, about this creature of the earth. He needs the pain to enjoy happiness. He needs a sap of pain to enjoy joy, happiness, bliss, delight, rapture. There is a boon for him, the boon of undying rapture, but he wouldn't accept it unless it is accompanied by anguish and suffering. The boon has to be accompanied by anguish and suffering. Joy has to be accompanied with grief. Then only he is going to accept the joy. He is given the gift of salvation in spite of his wrongdoings. He is given the gift of good against the wickedness that fills life. He is given the gift of love and sweetness when abound hatred and jealousy and enmity. Man is offered a crown of happiness, of redemption from sin and evil. But in return, what the Savior gets is a crown of thorns. The giver of boon, what he gets from man is a crown of thorns. The crown of thorns is what is given to the one who brings gifts to us. He is given the crown of thorns. He is made to carry the cross of suffering. He gets the cross. He gets the jeering and insult and the taunting of the crowd. His companions are retribution and punishment. The enactment of grief and sorrow is a passion play of life. That is the passion play of life, and that is what Savitri is. Savitri has to take part in it. The daughter of infinity, who she is, she has to meet the primal doom, the doom of existence, the doom that resides at the bottom of this creation. What the omniscient goddess could not do, that she, taking a mortal birth as Savitri, must do. In fact, that is the only way by which the mortal creation can be led to its fulfillment. That is the only way by which the divine event could march on. That is the way by which the possibility, the spirit could manifest in this mortal world. The omniscient goddess must take the mortal birth. The omniscient goddess must come down here as Savitri. The omniscient goddess must come down as a daughter of the sun god of Savitra. She must come down here as Savitri and take charge of the things here in this mortal world.